Well, hello, lovely humans, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jamie Wolfer. I'm your online wedding planner, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to style your wedding. I did a video on this. I just checked the date 7 years ago. Your girl's been doing YouTube videos for quite some time now. And I'd say we're due for a little bit of an update, especially after watching it and realizing I left quite a few things out. I mean, it was good. Like, little baby Jamie was like trying her best. She was doing great. We were so proud of her. But there were some elements that I wholeheartedly missed. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and remedy that. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. And Jamie also now has a really cool sponsor, Generation Tux, who we will be mentioning in just a little bit. But as always, thank you guys so much for sponsoring this week's video. So without further ado, let's just jump right on into it. In the original video, I had some great points. I said you need to be practical with the season, with your venue, with your finances. Yes, before you even start your wedding vision, I still actually agree with baby Jamie. I say baby Jamie. 7 years ago was not baby Jamie, but you get the point. I still agree with that idea, and I think that's really important. In fact, I highly recommend you go watch that old video. I'm going to put it over here if you want to, as a means of just like a very basic covering of how to style your wedding. Because if your venue is giving barn vibes, but you really want minimalistic chic vibes, it's really hard to bring those two together. So you're going to want to keep some of that in mind as you're selecting the location of your venue if you already have an overall vibe. This is like a chicken or the egg scenario, and I've talked about this in multiple videos, and I feel like I'm repeating myself. Also, if you want more intense hands-on how to style your wedding videos, I have a whole module in the master plan on how to style your wedding using Pinterest. I'll link it right here if you want to come join us. It's $29 a month. I get to be your actual online wedding planner. I am your real live wedding planner. We have monthly calls. We get to go over your questions together. It's fantastic. 10 out of 10 recommend. I've already missed the card, so it's going to be down below. And the next point I made in that video was to figure out your vibe, which is great, but I think I got a little ahead of myself here because I think number one is to be practical, in case we miss the numerical order of this. Number two is to get inspired. You need to get some sort of design exposure. And this could be really delightful for some of you and really horrible for some of you. I know design's not for everybody, which, by the way, please don't feel pressured into having a theme or a set style for your event. The only reason I'm walking through these ideas is for those who are either, excited and or looking for help on this topic or on this matter. It does help to have a theme, a vibe, a color palette, etc. when you're working with your florist, when you're working on linens, when you're trying to figure out wedding party attire. That's important. We do need some sort of palette to work off of, but you don't have to get super intricate and super detailed, okay? But for those who are interested in or feel like they really want to dive in selecting a beautiful and well-done wedding style, then obviously the rest of these points will apply to you. Now, you can get inspiration from a lot of places. You can get it from Pinterest. You can get it from your venue. You can get it from your season. You can get it from an overall theme. Maybe you've already seen a wedding theme that you really like. You can get it from a specific color palette. Maybe that's what inspires everything and kicks off your wedding design. And then you can also get it in two very unlikely places. One I highlighted in the last video, and that's your own closet. I still am very much that girl that wears a bunch of monochromatic. I do love a good pop of color sometimes, obviously Exhibit A, but I tend to kind of go that direction, although I do think it's a little bit laughable that I called my wedding monochromatic when I had blush pink and navy blue. It was not. Just the centerpieces were. Like, all the decor was. And of course, I fell victim to that color palette being trendy at the time. So it was not neutral. I got to call myself out on that one. Which you can look in your closet, your fiance's closet. Do you see a common pattern here? If I looked in my husband's closet, it would have been like all camo colors, which is cute, but not exactly how I'd want to style a wedding. So maybe I wouldn't draw inspiration maybe from his closet particularly. Okay. And then lastly, a fantastic place to draw inspiration is from interior design trends. Hear me out. Okay. I think it was Bluebird Academy that did a video, and she said this like years ago, where she was talking about how it can take like a year for interior designs to affect a wedding. That's because people are looking around them, when they're shopping in Target, etc., and they're really enjoying these styles that they see, and they want to incorporate that in a wedding, and most of the time people take about a year to plan their wedding. Also, if you're not subscribed to her channel, you should go check her out. She's a fantastic YouTube content creator who does wedding planning stuff. Absolutely love her. Think she's brilliant. And in a little bit, you're going to see I put together a mood board based off an interior design photo to just kind of help us figure out the next point, which is choosing your colors. Okay, so following the bouncing ball. 1, you got to start with practicality, okay? You got to be realistic about your budget. 2, you got to get inspired by something. I don't care if it's your great-grandmother's kitchen, okay? You got to look at something and go, I like that, I want to replicate that. And if you want someone else to choose for you, that's fine. Call a friend. You totally can. You don't have to invent it on your own. Number 3, you're going to want to figure out your wedding colors. I love Canva for this specifically because you can actually figure out hex codes based off of photos. And if you think I just started speaking a different language, allow me to explain. Every color has something called a hex code attached to it, or that's the name of it. The hex code names that color, and it's universal, and you can use it across the board basically anywhere. So I really like putting together mood boards on Canva to really figure out how to hone in on what your colors are. Again, you can select a pre-done color palette. You do not have to be this extra. You just don't. But also, if you would like to see how I put together mood boards on Canva, please feel free to let me know in the comments down below, because I don't know if it's everybody's thing. I don't know if people enjoy doing mood boards versus Pinterest boards. I love a delicious mood board. I love when clients put them together. I love helping clients put them together. I feel like it just takes the design to the next level and really helps to encapsulate what we want the overall event to look and feel like. You know what I mean? As you can see here, I've pulled in quite a few different photos. We've got this one over here that's actually from Vogue, talking about this year's interior design trends, which you can tell is eerily similar to one of the design trends that I mentioned in the 2025 trending wedding design trends. I'm so good with words today. But in this photo, it's deeply textural and we see some really beautiful things. We see some dark green, like really heavy greenery over here in the upper left-hand corner. We see drapery, we see textures, we see creams, burgundies, black and gold, and then this gorgeous green, which you guys know I've been obsessed with Generation Tuck's new hunter green look that they've got going on. But I pushed myself today, which you'll see in a minute. But what I'm going to do right now is, because I've gathered all of these different photos that I feel like really encapsulate what this overall big tapestry, what the vibe that this tapestry is giving. We've got the golds from this vase and like the pearlescent colors right here from these little decorative glass dome balls. And you'll see that reflected in a lot of the colors that I selected to put together for this mood board, okay? But now what I want to do is I want to figure out the colors specifically. Here's one of the million reasons that I love Canva if you want to figure out what your color palette is, because we already have these 5 color squares right here, which is perfect, but we want to make sure we're customizing it to what we really want our day to look like. So I'm going to go with my darkest color first, which I think would probably be, I can either select off of this cake or off of this coffee table, but you can see those are pretty similar in color to one another. So for here, now I'm going to go up and click the color circle over here. And then we've got photo colors right here. I'm going to go see all, find my wedding cake. Boom. That's going to be my darkest color, which conveniently comes with a hex code. And this one is hashtag or pound sign, if you're old enough, 18110E. It's kind of like a warmer, almost reddish black that we've got going on here. And then I'm going to go for one of the lighter colors. I can either select this from the dress we've got going on over here or from this invitation right here. I kind of like the idea of doing the invitation. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Okay. Nope. Photo colors. Again, let's go to the one with the invitation. No, that's pulling too warm for me. I don't think it's actually pulling the invitation color. So we'll go to the dress and we'll select this one. Love it. Love to see it. Gorgeous. Now we're going to go for one of the mid-tone pinks for this one, which are not even showing up. Oh, there we go. Let's do that one. That's pretty. That's a little more orangey. This is where it's not perfect. It's a little bit more of like trial and error. Sometimes when it comes to putting together your palette, this is pulling a little too terracotta in my opinion. I would like to see it a little bit different. This one, that, and this one, let's go that. No, I want to have the green in here. Okay, so this one, let's go this. And this one, we will go green. Okay, actually, I did a little switcheroo and kind of moved some things around. I don't hate the terracotta right now. I do wish we had a little bit more of that peachy tone coming through. There we go. That's better. I didn't quite have the right burgundy. Look at that. Now let me see if I can move it. There. So you can see that burgundy pop a little bit better. This is a stunning mood board, y'all. I'm actually obsessed with these colors and everything coming together. And while I love this option for putting together your colors for your event, I do feel like this burgundy is not the same burgundy that I feel like you see in store, or I feel like you see when you get the actual suit. And this is one of the reasons that I love Generation Tux is they offer free swatches. So if you go over to their website, let me go ahead and pull this up right here. You actually can see, I'm on the Select Swatches site. There's that green that I love so much. Okay, you can see that under the rental section that they have 26 different suit styles to choose from and a whole myriad of different colors to choose from when it comes to your accessories, ties, pocket squares, etc. So if I was to build the 5 swatches that I want down here, I would think that based off of this over here. I love that terracotta with this. I love like an ivory off-white tone. Obviously, we love that hunter green, but we're trying to grow as a person. And then we've got this like really close to almost black. So I'm going to go with a burgundy suit. I'm going to throw an ivory in there. The burnt orange seems a little too bright to me. The rust might work. What do we have next? Oh, let's see. We have that dark color first. So, okay, we're just going to throw in a cognac right here. Nope, not the cognac. Copper brown. And then that hunter. Okay. You know what? I actually might get rid of that copper brown and put the Merlot in there as well. This is really similar to when I went to their showroom to visit and like put together a look. Now this is pretty darn close, y'all. I did a little bit more tweaking. Look at that. So that way you can order these 5 swatches and then figure out what you want to pair them with. So obviously if we're going that burgundy base or the hunter base, you can then pair it with ivory. You could pair it with rust. You could pair it with Merlot, kind of get a mix and match. Let's say if you really wanted to go with that pink tone that we're seeing in some of those florals, you could obviously pick out Ballet, Tea Rose. First Blush is like a really pretty, almost like more of a gray pink. Like it's not as yellow. It's a little bit softer. It's a little bit less intense. So that could be a really good one as well. Petal pulls a little warmer. So again, we could pull in some of those colors that we're seeing in here. These are almost maybe even a little bit more peachy toned. So you can have a lot of fun with this. But hex codes can only take you so far when we're talking about fabric. So making sure that you order swatches so you have it physically in your hands and can really play around with the style and with this color, I think is of the utmost importance. So if you haven't done so already, I highly suggest you jump on down there, click on the link to order free swatch, completely free, delivered to your door so you can really hone in on your wedding style because I love it so much. Once you get the color palette figured out, this is where you kind of want to incorporate it into the vibe. And again, you can do this out of order. You don't have to do this in the exact order that I'm saying. Sometimes people pick vibe first and then figure out their colors later. Sometimes they pick a venue and they're like, well, we're stuck with this. So we have to come up with inspiration based off of the venue because that's, us being practical. Because wedding style is not just limited to the colors. It's also how you want it to feel. When we're talking about vibe, I'm talking about sound, sight, and touch, like the textures of what people are touching, what they're working with. Obviously, with that mood board I was showing you earlier, I don't know if you noticed, but they had a like more of a cheesecloth style napkin, which adds a beautiful texture to the tabletop. We've got a matte black plate instead of a shiny one, which adds another texture to the tabletop. So that's something that you could feel and you can see. So when we're building the vibe, that is one thing that we're wanting to pay attention to. Another thing we want to pay attention to, especially as we're curating these looks on Pinterest, etc., is the overall lighting. I will say I very rarely see a wedding go wrong with candles, cafe bulbs, and occasionally some uplights. Sometimes the uplights are a little garish, in my opinion. If they're the right color, they totally add the right vibe. But as long as you have tea light candles or tapers on your tabletop, I'm telling you, it creates an entirely different vibe. The last thing we're going to want to talk about in this category is sound. Most people will have some sort of sound playing. In fact, I was talking with a bride recently who was planning on just having like a little Bluetooth speaker to play some music during their reception because she's not really worried about people dancing. It was at that point that I suggested, like, hey, actually, we were at a birthday party, my son's birthday party, and I didn't have music playing then. And it was kind of awkward. It was when the first parents were showing up, and they didn't know if they were supposed to stay or go. It's this weird thing with having children is sometimes the parents will just stay for the party, or sometimes they'll leave, and I'm okay with either. It's fine. We have enough food for everybody just in case. But as a planner, just side rant, I want an RSVP. Like, I want to know ahead of time if you're staying with your kid or if you're bringing extra kids. You know what I mean? Because that's not a thing, apparently, when you're hosting kids' birthday parties. And I like numbers. I like knowing a head count. Otherwise, I'd be really bad at my job. So I explained to her that having background music while people are eating is usually a really good idea, especially because there's probably people in the crowd like me who cannot stand mouth noises. The chewing and the hearing the food, and especially open mouth chewing gets me real bad. That actually I found out recently is a cultural thing. So I'm not intending to insult cultures. I just have that thing where auditory things make me do the crazy thing. Okay. So whatever music you're playing during dinner can also really set the tone. If it's lively, if it's upbeat, if it's casual, if it's Vitamin String Quartet, it can really set the overall vibe for your event. And that's not something you really see through a screen when you're talking about designing or styling a wedding, is what you want the event to feel like. So I always want to make sure when we're talking about event styling that we talk about event feeling, event vibe, what you want the overall experience to be. And when we really pay attention to that, to the textures, to the sounds, to the sights, then we can really hone in those almost over-the-top extra details that make your wedding unforgettable. Step number 6, if you're keeping track with the numbers, and if I'm keeping track with the numbers, is to carry the theme. We've established the overall inspiration, color, vibe, etc. Well, And now we want to make sure we're consistently carrying that across the way. Again, this is if you want to style it really intentionally. If you don't want to do it, ignore everything that's about to come out of my mouth. Important places that you see this carried over would be florals. Obviously, if you're having a softer, more whimsical event, you're going to have branches and florals that are reaching outwards. You're going to have a more asymmetrical design. You're also going to want to touch on those colors that we have in our original colorway. Stationery and other sorts of signage. If you can carry the theme with your stationery, I think that's next level. I think it's so extra, but it's so delicious. Some people don't care. I will always care. I will always care if you have a wedding font. I'm also not going to keep track if you don't, but I can tell. And I love it. Even going down to the simple detail of having your ink be the same color. I know, the same hex code. Once you know hex codes, the world is kind of your oyster when it comes to design, because you can really carry that theme with your stationery and with your wedding signage absolutely beautifully. Wedding attire is another great way to carry that theme. Obviously, we saw the color matching, the colorway with the burgundy suit from Generation Tux. But when you're looking at that wedding gown that I was talking about earlier, it has those ivory tones and it has a softness to it that we see also repeated in the florals, in the napkins. So many people do the polyester trifold with the napkins or some sort of other fold. They tend to have a firmer look to them, whereas the cheesecloth adds a lot more softness to it. So we'll see that carried out in the wedding dress. We'll see that carried out in the wedding party as well. For those wearing dresses, you might see something a little bit more flowy. You could see something structured, although I probably doubt it. I think it would juxtapose the bride's dress a little too much. So in general, you're going to see something a little bit softer with the dresses. This can also apply to other areas of miscellaneous decor. Your photo booth backdrop, if you're doing one. Your cake. Obviously, the cake that we have on this mood board is to die for, and it so perfectly matches the marble that we have on that table. I could not believe my eyes when I saw that. I was like, this is literally the most perfect cake for this one photo inspiration. I am dying right now. And other various things like that. Your seating chart, if you want to do something big, if you want to add florals to it, if you want to carry the theme, if you want to incorporate your colors onto it. These are all opportunities to really insert your style across the board, literally and metaphorically. Literally on Pinterest and literally, I guess, at your wedding. Any hoodles. And last but most certainly not least, I said 6 for the last one. Someone take my internet privileges away from me. This is like last week's video when I kept saying country crock lemonade instead of country time. I want to talk about it, okay? I heard it after I edited and uploaded it. Okay. Number 6, get off Pinterest. Respectfully. If you've got it all figured out, you got the vibe, you have a style, you have your colors, you know kind of generally what you want to do, and you filled out your board. If you go over to the master plan, I will teach you how to style your whole event using Pinterest. I'll walk you through the whole thing. And you reach a certain point where continuing to go back and looking at Pinterest will actually just cause you to second guess all of the choices you've made, Pinterest is beautiful, but it's also a black hole because it has so many ideas. And then once the algorithm starts to understand you, all bets are off. So once you've chosen and decided on all of these different categories, I highly recommend that you spend little to no time on there. You've done the work, you've done the time, you know what you want your event to look like and feel like, you know your colors. You have enough floral photos pinned to give your florist plenty of inspiration. You don't need to keep returning back to it. Unless maybe you have a little miscellaneous project here or there, but still I recommend exercising caution on that because I just want to make sure that you don't fall into that age-old trap that so many couples do. I did when I jumped back on Pinterest after planning so much of the design for my wedding and then saw other ideas and thought I needed to scrap everything that I'd already designed. And you might be a lot stronger mentally than I was at that time. And to you, I say congratulations, but to the rest of us, where that comparison game is really, really tough, I highly recommend logging off of Pinterest and not going back until after your wedding's over. So that's what we have for this week's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, jump on down there, hit that like button, and subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride. If you want me to do a wedding mood board video, again, I don't know how many people are into that. I personally love them. I'd be happy to coach you through them. And as always, thank you so much, Generation Tux, for sponsoring this week's video. Y'all better go check out that burgundy suit because it's so good. And until next week, bye, guys.